and see if you guys can join. I'm getting stuff as we're talking right now, man. The Sony-Marvel deal is still ongoing. I'm getting notifications from the Black Knight right now. Hopefully, I'm going to get some details for you all. So let's talk about this, man. So if you haven't heard, earlier today, we had news that Sony and Marvel broke up, right? Let me post this on the social medias so we get some people watching, man. Hold on in the live chat. Everybody share this. What's up, Richie Taylor, Wobbles, Matt Forge? Hold on, man. This is live. I always told you guys, man, if there was ever major news that I would, I would go around that whole Wednesday live show and I would just break in with breaking information. So word is this: earlier today, Sony and Marvel had a falling out. Basically, they were renegotiating the deal for Sony-Marvel. What we were finding out is that the deal ended with, there was reportedly 2 pictures left with Tom Holland and John Watts. The deal with Kevin Feige ended after the 3rd film, but going forward, Kevin Feige not be involved at all. So this is breaking news now that they are back in talks. Sony's stock took a nice little chunk. It fell off, and it's right now in after-hours trading. It's still going down. So basically what there is, they're going back at it. So I am giving it to you live as I get it. So hold on, folks. Let me just share this, and I'm getting it from the Black Knight right now. Sony leaked this information, by the way. They didn't want their shareholders getting too scared. You know how skittish what they call the street is. So Sony didn't want their shareholders to be scared, force them to go back to the negotiating table with Marvel. This is a huge news. We're talking about a $1 billion movie that Sony potentially was going to lose with Kevin Feige without writing the ship for it. So hold on. Let me see what I got. I think we could have good news, guys. Hold on. I'm trying to get out information. So Sony's not stupid. They saw their stock was taking a hit. They went ahead and told their investors we're still talking. They got Marvel back to the table. Let me see if we talk about it real time right now. Screen Rant's talking about it too. Sony leaked this out so that their investors would calm down a bit. So there is after hours trading if you're not too familiar with the stock market. And it was taking a hit. That's amazing that something as big as this, that they didn't think investors would notice this, right? Spider-Man Far From Home was a $1 billion movie. I do believe the highest grossing movie ever for Sony outside of James Bond. I think it eclipsed James Bond for the highest grossing movie. Spider-Man Homecoming made about 900 million worldwide. So this is huge. Hold on, let me try to get some more details for you guys. So this is all live, man. This is what the kids call live TV. I feel like Bill O'Reilly, but I'm not going to drop the F-bomb quite yet. Let's see. Hold on. Getting refreshed. Just a reminder, tomorrow, guys, we're going to have the Lords of the Long Box live show. It's also our $1,000 giveaway, man. We're going to have a nice, cool little entry. You can enter to win some really cool books from our friend KP Henderson on Instagram. Hold on. I'm trying to get this Sony Marvel news as it breaks. So you guys are going to come in live and join us for it. So shout out to everybody in the live chat. Richie Taylor, Wobbles, Matt Ford, Stay Puff 1983, West Coast Redskin. Please share this to whomever you can. Let's see here. I'm just waiting for. So if I get word live, I'm going to break it to you live. That's how my insider is talking to somebody who's really close to the negotiations. So, breaking news, Sony and Marvel back to the negotiating table. They're trying to get this worked out. Sony stock took a nice little hit when this information dropped. If you look at, let me see if I can share it, but you guys can do it on your own. I don't want to get too off track here, but if we look at Sony stock today, it started nicely, and then right around the news dropped at about 11:25 a.m. It took a steady decline. We're talking about, anytime investors see something at 50 cents and their stock is only at about $55, so 50 cents a share is pretty big if you're a major stockholder in Sony. Obviously, this is their bread and butter. What's up, Nicholas Gear, legit Nick? Yeah, I'm overdressed for today's show. Normally, I don't get the, I'm all comfy. I literally just got off work. I was in my car. The Black Knight sent me a text. Dude, we need to go with this live. It's about to happen. So right now, if you go onto Twitter, it's the number one thing that's trending right now on Twitter. Sony's trending, Feige's trending, Spider-Man is trending, Tom Holland is trending, Andrew Garfield is trending, everything you can think of, and every meme in between. And I'll admit it, I was part of the ones doing those memes because I thought it was kind of stupid what Sony did. I'll give you guys the details on what I have. Marvel came to the table and offered Sony, hey, we will pony up 50% of the production costs for ongoing Spider-Man or Spider-Verse films. And we'll split the profits with you 50-50, right? So basically they're saying, okay, Sony and Marvel would be a joint venture. You guys will pay for half the production costs of marketing. We'll pay for the other half. So in essence, something like Spider-Man Far From Home or Spider-Man Homecoming would have been split with Sony, the marketing and cost of it, as well as the profit of it. Sounds fair, right? I mean, it is a Spider-Man property. Well, Sony came back with a counteroffer and offered them 5% of the opening weekend box office, not 5% of the total. So if it was made $1 billion, they're not getting 500. They're not getting, 500. What did I say? 5 million. They're only getting from the opening box office weekend. So that made Marvel livid. They're like, you know what? Pound rock. This could have been a strong arm negotiating tactic on their part, but it worked. The Sony stockholders weren't too happy with this. They didn't have any faith in Sony going forward as a standalone Spider-Man franchise without the MCU components, which made Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming so successful, right? You had Tony Stark was prominent in there. You got Spider-Man coming into the Avengers, coming into Civil War. Yes, Matt Forge, IGN is also reporting. I saw it on screen. Matt just tweeted a few minutes ago that they're back at the negotiating table. No, brother, I'm just overjudged. I just came from work right now. It's not good. It's hard looking this handsome all the time. You know what I'm saying, brother? All right, let's see what we got here. So I'm going live. So as soon as I hear anything, you'll hear anything. So originally this negotiation was supposed to happen right around the production or release of Spider-Man 3, right? So apparently they wanted to kick this. So, I think everybody was feeling good that Spider-Man Far From Home did so well at the movie theater. You would think, wow, let's go forward moving this. Somebody at Sony thought, you know what? We did really well with the Edge of Spider-Verse. I think we can do this on our own. Well, I think the offer to them 5% on just the opening weekend box office was a slap in the face to Kevin Feige, the folks at Marvel who worked so hard on, this is their character. This is Spider-Man. I don't, whatever you think of Marvel Comics, Spider-Man is the flagship. FF may be the first, really team book, but Spider-Man, that's Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, that's their guide. Spider-Man is the Marvel universe. Arguably the most popular character in Marvel. If you think about all the different times you've seen him in animated shows, TV shows, hell, the Electric Company. When I was a kid, I grew up on Spider-Man on the Electric Company when I was a kid watching PBS, right? The Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. So what happened when the Sony deal and Marvel deal fell through, a bunch of projects fell through the wayside. I heard there was a secret project being developed called Spider-Man is Amazing Friends based on the animated series. They're going to make a live action version with Firestar and Iceman. That got destroyed because Marvel said, no, we're pulling out. So what up, 90MF Comics? Come on, we're waiting. Let's see what happens. I am getting word that it's almost done. His source sounds upbeat, so hang tight. How's everybody doing, man? Disney got greedy. Well, you can I guess you could say it. I mean, I think offering 50-50 is not being greedy. They're just saying, hey, we made your film successful. Really, the Garfield films are panned. Venom 3 didn't work out. I would argue Raimi's first two Spider-Man films are some of the best comic book movies ever made, right? But then with the Garfield stuff, not so much. The Venom movie was great at the box office, $800 million. It performed over for what it cost to make it. But even then, they still want Venom to be in the MCU. Who doesn't, right? Feige proved twice that he knows what he's doing with Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming. They wanted to say, hey, we're more than happy to work with you. We'll split it. It would have been beneficial. You can see the fallback. I don't believe in all this boycotting of products and everything, but there is something trending on Twitter that says boycott Sony. I don't know how you boycott Sony. Are you going to go throw away your 4K TV? I don't think so. Bravia is a pretty kick-ass brand. Hey, Chad Crow, what's up? Tony Sanders, what's going on, brother? If you guys haven't seen Tony Sanders' show last night, part of the Lords of Lombox crew was on there. My man Otto from the Guado, Nemesis Prime were up in there. I tried to get the boys on live with me tonight, but even this was too short notice for them. So we're just going solo. In case you haven't heard, earlier today it was announced that the Sony and Marvel Disney deal was over. Boom, finito. Going forward, Sony was going to go and do it on their own again, like they did prior to Spider-Man Far From Home. The details of that are coming out. That Marvel offered 50% to cost the production costs for upcoming Spider-Verse films. In return, they split the profits with Sony 50-50. So basically, they wanted to be 50-50 partners. Sony came back and countered with 5% of the opening box office for any Spider-Verse film. Marvel didn't like that, told them to pound sand, kick rocks, and Sony stock started to tumble. Well, not tumble, but it started to drop. Let's look at the Sony stock over the last 5 days. Over the last 5 days, Sony stock has been trending upward, going nice. I mean, it's not doing anything crazy, but I mean, if you look at today's total, it did drop. And after hours right now, it is not doing too well either. So, I mean, when you take away $1 billion franchise from a movie studio, I think there's going to be adverse effects on the stock market, especially when you're a publicly traded company and you have investors to answer to. What's up, Otto? Hey, let me give you the wrench. There you go, Otto. You are moderating now. So you guys just hang out, talk amongst yourselves while we try to get this to you real time. This is the fun of live TV, man. Like Bill O'Reilly said, yeah, do it live. We'll do it live. I don't want my channel taken away from me again, so I'm not going to drop the F-bomb quite yet. And that's how I get a little comfortable. Ooh, it's hot. What's up, Dark Side Jedi? Moderating everybody. Just so you guys know, brought up to speed. You're full aware that Sony and Marvel broke up early today. Well, we're finding out that they're trying to get back together to try to work things out. Sony has leaked this information, so a couple of other people ran with the IGN ran with it that's saying Sony. I found out while I was in my car about an hour ago. You could ask Dark Side Jedi and 3 Men in the Basement. I told them that this was back on, and we're trying to find out the details for you live. Very true, he is, Richie Taylor. So we're trying to get to you live. Tomorrow, we're going to have a great show. We actually have a huge Black Knight report. We're going to drop some goodies on you guys. And my man, KP Henderson from Instagram, is going to lace us up with a nice little thing. Then while we're waiting for this, let me try out this new thing, and you guys tell me if this works. So we're going to debut this tomorrow. And
bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
Somebody show that something. Hold on and get some, boys.
That is why they come pick.
oh, yeah. Yo, that's the Lords of Long Box theme song done by my man DJ Curse of the world famous Beat Junkies. Throw that in your grill. All right, so we're just hanging out, waiting for this news to drop. Try to get to this news to you live, man, if we can. My man, the Dark Knight, just told me to hang tight. Anything you guys want to talk about? Yeah, so that's an option in StreamYard. If you didn't know, by the way, you can actually play a 30-second video in the middle of the stream. So basically, that's going to be the intro for our shows from now on when we intro it. So you guys like how the new mic is sounding? Oh, the silky sounds of TiVo from KTVO. Oh yeah, all soul all day, baby. If you want to lick my funk, I'll suck your soul. Oh yeah, all day, all night. You like that, Ryan? Give me the Ryan. Send me the Dark Side Jedi theme, and I can play that too. Absolute Carnage. What are your thoughts? I'm about to read it tonight, man. I'm so. You know what? Should I do my comic book haul while we're waiting? I got a bunch of books right here. Since we're waiting on the Black Knight, man, this is all live, baby. Let's do this. I'm just gonna keep on playing the Lord's theme until I wait. So here it is.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
Somebody show that something. Hold on and get some, boys.
That is why they come pick.
You know what? Hold on. All right. Stay tuned, boys and girls. I got breaking news right now. Oh boy. All right. I am going to read to you this verbatim so that I don't get anything lost. All right. Here's the whole story, guys. Are you ready? All right. This afternoon, Sony decided not to renew its agreement for the shared usage of Spider-Man in the movies with the Marvel Studios. Therefore, Marvel Studios will no longer be producing Spider-Man films such as they did with the most recent two, Homecoming and Far From Home. Instead, Sony will do the Spidey movies themselves, including the final two on Tom Holland's contract. Spidey will no longer appear in Avengers films. Instead of Sony paying for the Spider-Man movies, Marvel Studios offered 50%. Both companies would then split the profits on these productions, which could have led Disney to take over the Venom franchise potentially as well under the same terms, 50-50 for 50-50, right? Sounds fair. Sony said no. Sony wanted to continue the original agreement, which they paid for everything, with Marvel Studios only receiving 5% of initial earnings. Marvel said no deal. Marvel Studios handed Sony their biggest box office smash of all time with Far From Home. And this is the thanks they received. Now, Black Knight is reporting that both Sony and Disney are negotiating once again, and it's looking good that both sides will reach a new agreement. Sony stock tumbled after Spider-Man hit the fan. The Spider-Man news hit the fan. The defecation hit the ventilation. I don't want to, just got a curse, but think about that. The defecation hit the ventilation. All right, that's what I said. And their investors panicked like R. Kelly at a policeman's ball. That's the Black Knight for you. He's a great writer. But they didn't reach a new deal. Sony is up the creek without a paddle like R. Kelly at Rikers Island. Jesus Christ. As they can't use Spider-Verse characters for their streaming purposes. So you get that, right? So with Marvel pulling out of the deal, Sony can't stream on TV. Marvel owns those rights to Spider-Man TV's rights, right? So anything that Sony wants to do on TV, they got to get Marvel's permission to do. Sony owns the rights to do anything they want on the big screen. They don't need Marvel's approval. Marvel needs to approve any of those deals. And you correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that is the correct one. Black Knight, he's watching right now. I won't say that, but MCU Cosmic and Grace Randolph now know the dangers of using Norman Osborn as the big baddie. As on this channel, we have overly told you guys again, Norman Osborn was not going to be the big baddie in an MCU film. Smashed those Dark Avengers rumors. We squashed them from day one because something like this can happen. Kevin Feige would be left with nothing. Right now, he's like playing hardball. So, anybody telling you, like when Grace Randolph said she saw the Osborn Tower in the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, no, she did not. There was no Osborn Tower. If anything, it's going to be the Baxter Building. Oops, did I let that out? Anyway, that's coming on a future Black Knight report. All right, so here you go. That's why when you're talking about these properties, anything can happen. By Kevin Feige going and putting all his chips in on Norman Osborn, how do you go from Thanos and Ultron to Norman Osborn, right? I mean, he'd be a great Spider-Man villain. I don't know if he'd be a great villain across the MCU, but they don't want to use a villain from Sony across the MCU because Marvel doesn't own 100% of those rights, and something like this can happen. So next time you guys talk about Norman Osborn, think about that, or any character that Feige doesn't own 100% of. If the new agreement as presently offered by Disney is taken by Sony, Kevin Feige will be placed in charge of Sony Spider-Verse flicks, delivering Venom into the MCU. Feige wants full producer credit, among other requests from Disney. He also wants a soft reboot of Venom. When the dust settles, Sony's proposed Spider-Verse live-action TV programs like The Scarlet Spider and Spider-Man 2099 can go forward. If it doesn't, bye-bye to Scarlet Spider and Spider-Man 2099. And that also means the Gibbons. Sorry, Reggie. But Brett, you probably want this to happen, Reggie, because you got those Gibbons books. But that's where we're at right now, boys and girls. They're in negotiations. Let me see. So that is the most up-to-date I've got. Let me ask if I should stay online. While you guys are waiting for that, you know what? I just realized I could share something with you guys. Let's hope I don't get a. Let's see what I have here. I have some mixes, believe it or not. Let me see what I could play for you guys while you're waiting. I do believe I have some old mixes here. Sit tight, boys and girls. We're just chillaxing. Hold on, boys and girls. I'm waiting for information. Talk amongst yourselves. Trying to get information as we speak. Let me see if I can play this for you guys while we're waiting. Sit tight. We're live, y'all. Hopefully I won't get a copyright ding for this, but here, enjoy this while you're waiting. Let me see if it'll play. It's uploading now. Sit tight, guys. 60 people watching. I appreciate that, man. Hey, if you're new to the channel, make sure you sub up. Okay. Sit tight. We're still waiting. So I will give you guys a recap in a second of what's going on. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. While you're
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my god.
Come on and get some, boys.
Back and walk back and compete.
All right, to recap, for those just joining us, okay. By the way, just to update the scoop that we did originally, Secret Wars is still happening no matter what. It's going to be with or without Spider-Man. So you can be part of the party or you can be standing on the outside listening to the music. You know what I'm saying? Let me ask some questions in the live chat. Let me see. Yes, Multiverse of Madness news. The last I heard about the Multiverse of Madness was that Scarlet Witch was going to be something's going to happen with her, and where she's going to open up other dimensions. We're talking perhaps they're thinking about using the House of M story for Into the Multiverse, and in that story, she's going to somehow bring in her brother from another 616. So Quicksilver is reportedly coming back to the MCU. Via the Scarlet Witch opening up these other dimensions. When we're talking about multiverses, we're talking about the entire X-Men universe of multiverses. So that's cool on that. So that's the thing we heard, is that they're looking to get Quicksilver into the Multiverse of Madness. Did I say that right? Aaron Taylor Johnson is down for it. I heard if he wants the role, it's up to him. They'd rather use him than use the Quicksilver version from Fox. I actually like the Fox version better, but they want it. Why would they use Fox's when they have their own? But it'd be interesting which way they go with that. Damn it, the file is too big. That sucks. So it has to be smaller. Let me see if I can find a smaller clip for you guys. I'll just answer some questions in the live chat, man. Let me see. Let me go through this and see if I can find it this way. Shout out to Discovery Bay Comics. Follow him if you haven't. Shout out to Tony Sanders. Sub him up if you haven't. Otto from the Grotto and my man Nemesis Prime was on there last night. Man from Beantime, I gave you the Multiverse of Madness news that I had. Yes, Multiverse of Madness is, well, he didn't want to call it a horror movie. He said it's well, I know that was Jeff Loeb said that, but Scott Derrickson said he's creating the first scary movie in the MCU, and I think that's fantastic, right? That opens the way to characters like Nightmare, who his first appearance is very expensive already. That's Strange Tales 110, by the way. Shang-Chi talk? No Shang-Chi talk as of yet. All I do know is certain martial arts characters are going to be on the long-term spec list we're going to be dropping later on this week, including somebody we already dropped, but a female version of her. So think about that for a second. The first ever Puerto Rican superhero in Marvel Comics, the female version of her. If you guys put two and two together, you'll figure that out. Yeah, man, you guys sub up 3 Men in the Basement, 9 subs away from 700. He's got a 700 sub giveaway. Let's get 3 Men in the Basement up to 1,000 subs. The Lords of Longbox is close to 1,000 subs right now. I think that's it for now, man. You know what? The people, that's one of the things we get asked most is what about the X-Men stuff? And I want to tell you right now, it's just too early to tell. But I will tell you this. It's being reported, our source at least is telling us the first mutant into the MCU will be Deadpool. Interesting, right? Reportedly, they want to put Deadpool in the end credit scene of Black Widow, and he will be meeting Taskmaster in a bar. So that tells you right there that it's Deadpool once again playing around, you know, making fun of the Marvel Universe itself, the MCU itself. If you remember, Tony Stark's one of the first, is it the first ever end credit scene? It may be the first or second where he meets Thunderbolt Ross at the end of the Hulk. I think it's the end of the Hulk movie, and maybe the second end credit scene. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat. But you remember that scene where Tony Stark meets Thunderbolt Ross in the back of the bar, and he says, "There's something about this Avengers initiative I want to talk to you about." So that's that, man. So sub up, everybody. And you know what? Let me see where we're at with this. So, all right, I'm going to summarize one last time before I leave you guys and tell you guys where we're at right now. Let me get a drink so I can read this for you. Actually, I'm going to drink. Enjoy this intro.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
Somebody show me something. Hold on and get some, boys.
Fat is wild and compete.
I really hope I don't get dinged for that. At one point, I was getting dinged by the Lords of the Underground because that's a sound by. I took a quick sample from Lords of my boy did DJ Curse of the world famous Beat Junkies. Hit him up on Instagram. He's a dope ass DJ. He's one of the first on the West Coast. All the Filipino cats that were down in SoCal were part of the DJing groups that grew up with like the Invisible Scratch Pickles. My man DJ Shortcut is also a founding member of the Beat Junk. Well, he's not a founding. He's a member of the Beat Junkies now, but DJ Curse is one of the founding members of the Beat Junkies. And if you ever watched the documentary called Scratch, my man DJ Curse is in there, and my man Curse made that. That is the official Lords of the Longbox intro, man. So, all right, I'm gonna read this one more time before. Hey, my cousin Jane Guy 1 is on the house. What's up, John? All right, to summarize, let's go for it. All right, it's been a roller coaster ride for Spider-Man and us fans today. I'm just reading this off this phone. So this afternoon, Sony decided not to renew its agreement with the shared usage of Spider-Man in the movies and the Marvel Studios. Therefore, Marvel Studios will no longer be producing Spider-Man films such as they did with the two most recent, Homecoming and Far From Home. Instead, Sony will do Spider-Man movies themselves, including the final 2 on Tom Holland's contract. Spidey will no longer appear in Avengers films. Instead of Sony paying for Spider-Man movies, Marvel Studios offer 50% of the production costs. Both companies would then split the profits on these productions, which could have led Disney to take over the Venom franchise potentially as well under the same terms of 50-50 production and marketing costs, 50-50 profits. Sony said no. Sony wanted to continue the original agreement in which Marvel uses Spider-Man in the Marvel films and Sony doesn't get any movies. Sony uses Spider-Man in the Sony films and Marvel doesn't get any of that money. They kind of both kept their separate lanes, but they also said they would give Marvel Studios 5% of the initial earnings, meaning the box office weekend. So that keep the original deal, but here to sweeten the pot will allow you to have 5% of the opening box office weekend. Marvel was livid. Marvel Studios handed Sony their biggest box office smash of all time with Far From Home. It passed James Bond, one of the James Bond films, as being the highest grossing Sony film of all time. As of when we started this video, the Black Knight is now reporting that both Sony and Disney are negotiating once again, and it's looking good that both sides will reach a new agreement. Sony's stock tumbled after the Spider-Man defecation hit the ventilation, and their investors panicked like R. Kelly at a policeman's ball. I'm just reading this verbatim, so you didn't get these jokes again. If they don't reach a new deal, Sony is arsed up the ass like R. Kelly at Rikers Island, so they can't use the Spider-Verse characters for the upcoming streaming services. Once again, Sony needs Marvel's permission to use any of the Spider-Man verse characters, Spider-Verse. When I say that, I'm not saying Into the Spider-Verse specific. I mean everything in the Spider-Man universe to go on any type of streaming TV platform. They need Marvel's permission. So if Marvel says no, they're screwed. All that stuff we talked about, gone. Where are we? All right. So other YouTube channels now know the dangers of using Norman Osborn as the big bad. We've reported like this on the last 2 or 3 months, debunking that. Which if you don't own the property, anything can happen. So that's why Kevin Feige doesn't want to use Dark Avengers or Norman Osborn or any of that stuff. Maybe if he owned all of the rights to Norman Osborn, you would see him in an MCU film. In the new agreement as presently offered by Disney, if taken by Sony, Kevin Feige will be placed in charge of Sony's Spider-Verse films, everything, delivering Venom into the MCU, as we reported that Feige was going to be producing Venom 3 if that happened. Feige wants full producer credit among other requests from Disney. He also wants a soft reboot of Venom. When the dust settles, Sony's proposed Spider-Verse live-action TV film shows like Scarlet Spider and Spider-Man 2099 can go forward, as first reported by me on Comic Tom 101. That's it, boys and girls. So let's hope we all go to bed tonight and we wake up tomorrow morning and with some good news, because right now this is major. If you go on to Twitter, Spider-Man is trending like crazy. Look at the Sony stock price. It's getting smashed in the after hours market. This is something they need to do. They have to do. Okay. So, oh, did I show you guys this? Okay. Oh, did I show you guys this? I just picked these up, man. This is a giant spec book for you right here. This is Kingdom Come. Look at that. You guys got a little comic haul to go along with this. That's a spec book because we're hearing Belante wants to do that for HBO Go. And we're going to have some news for you about that on this week's Black Knight Report. And I am told we can all dial off right now because we haven't heard anything yet. So shout out to everybody in the live chat. John Valenzuela, Man from Beantown, Tony Sanders, once again, Max Horrific, my cousin Jay and Guy one in the house. So that's where we're at, man. That's where we're going to stay. And I'm going to just leave you with this. Keep digging in them long boxes, boys and girls. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. So until...
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.